All right, what's up? Gonna talk a little boxing with Ak Reyes from Showtimes. Um, he's a I kind of envy this guy. I want to be working with him one day, doing what he does. He has a boxing show on Showtime. Um, Not on, excuse me, on DAZN. Oh no, it is on Showtime. No, it's on DAZN. My bad. It's on DAZN. It was on Showtime for some reason. I gotta do those. All right. What's up, everybody? We're waiting on Ak Reyes to come join us from DAZN's Boxing with Ak. Um, and we're going to talk about Canelo versus Charlo. We're going to talk about Spence versus Crawford. Thanks, Oliver. Appreciate you. Zab is my man. And I'm waiting for my man Ak to join. What I'm going to do. Hold on a second. All right. My bad, guys. Yes, we're waiting on Ak to join us. Talk about boxing. I want to know his thoughts and his picks for the upcoming fights. I don't think DAZN covers. So I was worried asking Ak about some of his upcoming fights that he can't, because of professionalism, he can't give his real opinions. But I don't think DAZN's covering. It's all Showtime, those fights, I'm pretty sure, the big ones. So he could probably, no problem, give his opinions. Without a problem. I don't have much time with him, only like 15 minutes, but fuck it. I'll take what I can get. He used to be a fighter too, I'm pretty sure, just like myself. So we could talk about that. I love speaking with guys who used to fight as well. Not saying that that's a requirement to know boxing, because it is not. I'm not one of those guys. Like if I'm having a conversation about boxing, like a debate, I don't throw in, you didn't box, I did, so I know more than you. I mean, there's certain things on like anything on the job you learn. If you're on the job, you're going to know a little bit more than other people. But certain things don't matter if you fought or not, right? Certain things don't matter, but certain things, yeah, being on the job does help. Does give you a little bit of a deeper insight, more experience. You know what I mean? So that's that. All right, where's my man at? I don't want to bore you guys. I'm waiting for my man to join. But we'll see. We'll see. While I'm waiting, guys, you have any questions? Anything you want to talk about it? Spit at me. Let's chop it up a little bit while I'm waiting for the esteemed DAZN Boxing with Ak host, Ak Reyes. I'm curious what kind of name Akin is too. Middle Eastern, maybe? I'm not sure. Reyes, though, is definitely Hispanic, so I don't know. I don't know what his background is. I think he's from New York, so if he is, like I grew up here, he could be a mix. I've met dudes that are half Chinese, half black, half Puerto Rican, and a sprinkle of Honduran, just for the hell of it. That's the kind of shit you get in the melting pot out here. All kinds of mixes. That's why everybody kind of just chills together. I was actually the only white boy in my neighborhood growing up in Hell's Kitchen. Well, not the only one, but one of the few. Hell's Kitchen was heavily, when I was growing up, Puerto Rican and black. Um, in the 60s and 50s, and uh, that it was Irish. A lot of people think of Hell's Kitchen, think of Irish mob, and that wasn't in the 80s and 90s when I was coming up. That was way later. So, sorry guys. All right, I'm waiting for him to come, but I don't know where he's at. I don't know what's going on here. All right, hold on. Let me send it again because. All right, waiting for him to join. This isn't. We're gonna have like 10 minutes, but better than nothing. Oliver Thurman versus Boots. BK Guru. Oh, that's you, Ak. I sent the link to your man, to your assistant manager, whatever he is. BK Guru Charles. I think that's you. It's definitely not your name, but if that's you. It's you. Thurman versus Boots looking more realistic now. The link, that'd be the best next thing. Thurman versus Boots. Yeah. I think Thurman needs to. You just click the link. If that's you, that's BK Guru Charles. If that's you, I sent the link to email it to you and send it to your guy. So you just have to click it and you'll join in. Boots needs to beat Thurman, but if I'm Thurman's management, I am staying the fuck away from Boots because he's a former champion. He has tons of time in the game, experience. He should be taking fights that are legacy building and huge money. While Boots is maybe the most talented fighter in the welterweight division, maybe, he certainly is not the most popular, won't draw the most, revenue and money. So, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. What else you got? Boots looking. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Boots fight everybody. Shit, I'd like to see a Boots tournament. We do Boots versus Thurman. We do Boots versus Bud. Fuck, we get Virgil Ortiz out of college. Boots versus Virgil. Do it all. Do it all. I'd be cool with that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Guys, what other questions you got while I'm waiting for my man to join? Spit at me. I don't have that much time left. What is this thing doing? Who's fighting? There's nobody this weekend, right? We just got next weekend, right? The big one, Charlo and Canelo. But nobody this weekend. Or no, is that this weekend's at Zhang versus the Juggernaut rematch? I think. I didn't know they were rematching. I mean, not really necessary, but I guess people thought that Joe Joyce was the A side in this. So they're forcing the rematch, I suppose. It was maybe a contractual obligation. I don't want to see that rematch. I want to see Zhang get in there against, step it up one more notch. Let's see what he has, because he's not getting any younger. Excuse me. So that's wasted time. That's wasted time. So the more time he wastes, the more the older he gets, and he's just declining. He still looks good now. I don't really know Zhang's background. There he is. My man, there we go.
What's going on, man?
What's popping, man? How you doing?
Good. And by the way, my name is Akin. Akin, it's a Nigerian name, but everybody knows me as Ak.
So yeah, I knew that's what's Akin. So you're partially Nigerian.
Yeah, I'm West Indian and Puerto Rican.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, but
Okay.
I'm 46. I don't know. You seem a lot younger than me, but who knows?
I'm definitely younger, but I live in Jersey now, but I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah,
That's dope.
yeah, no doubt.
Thanks for joining me, man.
No
I know we don't
problem.
have that much time, so
All good.
let me get right into it. Charlo versus Canelo. Who do you see winning that one?
Yeah, I mean, with that fight I think it's gonna be a little tougher than people think. I think because obviously Canelo is a heavy favorite in that fight, but I think Charlo poses a real threat. It's hard to go against a guy like Canelo who's been on that big stage so many times, and also is fighting with a bit of a chip on his shoulder now because of the criticism that he received from the Ryder fight and all the hoopla. A lot of these fight fans have a lot to say about Canelo, who he's supposedly ducking or who he's not fighting and so on. So he's a little annoyed with all of that. So he definitely wants to make a statement.
Right,
It's not going to be an easy task though, but
right.
it's hard for me to go against Canelo for that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And then you got, Bud, Crawford, and Spence. They just triggered the rematch, or Errol triggered the rematch within the allotted amount of time. Um, and as the contract states, the winner can choose the weight. Bud has, as I'm sure we've all heard, has chosen to go at 47. I spoke with Steven Nelson, who's childhood friend, stablemate, and he pretty much confirmed the same thing. Like, look, Bud is going to 147 because he doesn't really want this fight to happen because in his eyes, what for? Rematches, in my opinion as well, rematches should be for either controversy or for really close fights. And this kind of had neither. I mean, what do you think about his choice to go to 47 for this one?
Yeah, I mean it's a very smart choice, and it's when you think about this stylistically, that matchup, you know, I love Errol. I think Errol's a really great fighter, and he's proven a lot in the sport. But just stylistically, the matchup is just bad for him against Bud. So I don't see the fight. I mean, maybe at 54 he would be a bit stronger, but I don't see the fight being that much different than the first one. So and Bud look has big fights on his mind. I said he wants a couple of big money fights, one, two, maybe even one. Maybe if he fights the winner of Canelo and Charlo, he's done. And he has 6 kids. He has a lot to might be 7. I'm not even sure now. And he wants to spend time with his kids. He's 36 years old right now.
Right.
So he's paid his dues. Unfortunately, he had to wait so long to get this fight. So yes, I think it's a smart choice to avoid the Spence fight.
Right.
Though it's still the fight probably won't do as good as the first one, but it would still sell. It's still a big fight because there's the notion that maybe Errol will be better at 154. But if the fight doesn't happen at 54, then there's no. I think it won't do well in terms of pay-per-views. So I think it's a smart angle that Bud is taking here.
Yeah, I mean, you fought before, correct?
I did.
How many you amateur
70,
fights?
75 amateur fights.
Okay, so I fought amateur and pro myself, and so we both know 7 pounds at that weight isn't really isn't going to do much. If it was a really close fight, then I'd say okay, maybe the weight drain, but it was such a So I'm with you.
One-sided fight.
Very one-sided. Surprising. I mean, with that fight, who did you have winning that fight going into it?
Yeah, I mean, I had Bud winning that fight. I actually put money on Bud stopping Spence in that fight.
Oh,
but not because, for one, I'm close friends with Bud. Like he's one of the fighters that Barack and I have a really good relationship with, and I was very cool with Spence as well. So part of my heart was going with Bud. In addition to that, I just thought that Bud had too many tools in his tool shed.
Right.
And I figured I thought he would stop him late, and he did.
So. Right. No, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so Charlo and Canelo fight. I'm with you. You stated you have to lean towards Canelo. So let's say Canelo wins that fight.
Yeah, I won't give you a prediction for Bud and Canelo because those two guys are my dudes, right? And it's tough because these are guys that I'm around and I'm gonna have to talk to. So I don't want anything going out there, me picking one guy or the other. But I'll tell you one thing. it's going to be a phenomenal fight, man.
Mm.
It's um, Canelo's a small 168 pounder, right?
Yeah.
For those that been around him and know him personally, he's not a big guy. He's small for even 160. Even at 154, he's the smallest guy in that division, right? Of the top level guys. So he really shouldn't even be fighting at 168. So that fight in terms of size, it's not going to be a big difference the way people may think because Bud started at 35, for that 40 and 47, that he's so much smaller than Canelo. Canelo is wide, he has big shoulders, but Bud is not going to be that much smaller than Canelo. So the fight is going to be a little, it's going to be, in terms of size, more evenly matched than people think.
Right.
But Canelo obviously has so much experience carrying that weight around.
Hmm.
And obviously he's a hard puncher. So it's an interesting fight, man. I think Canelo has shown a tremendous chin,
Yeah.
throughout throughout 154, 160,
Yeah.
168, 175. So it's hard to think that, Bud would hurt Canelo,
Right.
but also has shown that he's a very, very hard puncher.
Yeah.
He's carried that power in every division.
Yeah.
So, and obviously we can assume that Canelo can hurt Bud, right?
Mhm.
So there's that. But I think, Bud is such a smart fighter that he will fight Canelo a certain way. The way he fought Spence, a certain way. Very, very
Right.
smart. But so is Canelo. So to me, it's the best fight in boxing. It's the
Okay.
there are a lot of great fights out there. One of my favorites would be Tank versus Shakur. Obviously we have looming on us Joshua Wilder, which is an exciting fight, not the best
Right.
matchup, so to speak, like technically, but it's a great fight that we want to see. But as far as interesting, just big matchups, I think Canelo, because of what we saw Bud do to Spence, I think Canelo Bud is probably the best fight in all of boxing.
Right.
And I have Tank and Shakur right there with that in terms of
Okay.
matchups. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens, or can you give your thoughts on if Charlo beats Canelo and Charlo fights Bud? Who do you have winning that one?
I'm going with Bud on that one. I like Jamel. I think he's a hell of a fighter as well. But that one I would have to ride with Bud.
Okay.
Just being a switch hitter, look. First off, if Charlo beats Canelo,
Yeah.
things are going to change.
Yeah.
I still think it's a hard fight for Bud as well.
Yeah.
Jamel is a big guy, bro. He's a
Hmm.
big guy, so he's a lot bigger than Bud. So those are interesting fights. That's what makes boxing so amazing. Is the theater of the unexpected. We don't know what's going to happen
Right.
in a
Well.
week and a half in Vegas. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'll be
Right.
there front center, and we'll have conversations after that.
Well. So this kind of brings up another question. Let's say those two dudes, Canelo and Charlo, fight, and there's close controversy, whatever, and then a rematch happens. So now Bud doesn't want to fight Boots. He made that clear, right? Errol's probably not going to take this fight, and he can't fight Canelo or Charlo for a while. So who would you want to see Bud fight? All those fights are off the table.
There's nobody else for him to fight. There's no. If he would consider fighting Errol at 154, I think it's still a big enough fight that for him to be involved in. Waiting on Canelo or Charlo, I think that's probably the only fight out there that makes sense, unless Tank is willing to go up to 147 and fight Bud, which there were rumors that he said that, but then Leonard Ellaby tried to debunk that and said that he was playing. I don't know that to be true, but I know Tank is not too fond of Bud for some reason. I don't know why. So Bud is the best fight in boxing, hands down. So the only other fight that would draw a big audience would be Tank if he came up to 147 to fight Bud. I don't see that fight happening.
I was going to say, do you think that's given the size, the height difference?
No, I don't think it's a good fight for Tank, but Tank is still an explosive, very skillful fighter.
Yeah.
When I say that fight is big, meaning the general public, the casual fans, that fight would be a massive fight. I'm not saying it's, the Tank has a shot in winning, but you do have to count, you have to factor in his power and speed. So it's still danger in there for Bud. But I don't, of course, I don't see Tank beating Terrence Crawford, but it
Right.
would be a big fight. Meaning,
Right.
if there were nobody else to fight Bud, if he can't make the Spence fight and Canelo and Jamel are busy, that would be the only fight that would make sense for Bud in terms of
Right.
big payday, big
Okay.
big draw.
Right. Right. So I guess he just has to chill out and wait and see what's available. So dropping down a couple weight divisions, you got, I call them the big four: Haney, Shakur, Tiafimo, and who am I missing? One more. Who am I missing?
You said Tank,
Tank,
Haney.
Haney, Shakur, Tiafimo.
Yeah, but Teofimo's at 140 now.
Yeah, but I don't know about if you look at it this way, but 5 pounds away, all those guys can.
They're in very close proximity, so they could
Right.
all fight each other,
Right,
right?
they can all fight
But
each
if
other.
you're talking about championships, Devin is still a guy 135, but those titles are about to be vacant,
Right.
Because he's moving up to 140.
Right.
So the division is going to be wide open.
Right. So who do you think of all those four dudes? Who do you think, if they did a tournament, round robin tournament, all fought, who do you think will come out victorious, beating everybody?
I would say Shakur Stevenson.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, because look, this is a sweet science, and I think he's mastered distance so well. Even fighting a guy as dangerous as Tank, I just don't see Shakur allowing Tank to land a big shot on him, and I think that would be the difference in the fight. Though it's still dangerous. Tank is one of the best fighters in the world, in my opinion. Like skill wise, power,
Yep.
speed, phenomenal fighter.
Agreed.
I think any given night he can beat anybody. So like again, Shakur is part of the squad that I mess with. Bud, Shakur, those are my guys. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna go against Shakur with anybody. I do like Devin a lot as well. Devin is my man. I think Devin poses a threat to all of those guys too. That's the thing. That division, all of those guys on any given Saturday, can have the night of their lives and beat each other. But if I had to pick a guy that when the smoke clears, I would have to go with Core. And I think that the Tank fight is extremely dangerous because of the power. And I think even Devin, with his length and being able to fight from the outside, will pose a threat as well.
But if the TO that we've seen against Loma, against Josh Taylor shows up, I think he could beat all of them at any given night.
Yeah, T.O.'s not going back to 135.
Well, if they all fought at 140, because they could all make it happen.
I mean, but Shakur just got to 135. He's trying to rack up belts there and trying to campaign that division. So I don't see Shakur fighting Teofimo anytime soon. I mean, down the line, I do see Core possibly moving up to 140, then 147, maybe ending his career at 147. So it can happen down the line. But if we're talking about now, 2023, 2024, I don't see that fight happening now. Tank and Shakur, yes. You got guys like Pitbull Cruz and all of that, 35. Devin, it's tough for him to make 135. I know he would do it for a big fight, like against Shakur, against Tank. He would sacrifice and make that weight only because those are big fights. Those fights are bigger than him against anybody at 140. So Devin can go up. He's fighting Regis for a title if he beats Regis, which is still not an easy fight. There are no huge fights at 140. Just him and Teofimo would be the only one, right? Which it is a big fight. But him against Tank, that's even a bigger fight.
Right.
So I think that's the only time he would make a sacrifice and go to 135.
Okay. Well, I know we got to wrap it up soon, but I wanted to ask you, I guess, in summation, about the heavyweights, right?
Right.
First, what do you think about Tyson Fury? And I'm not sure, you probably would know better than me. Is the heavyweight championship of the world on the line against Ngannou?
No, it's not.
Not.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What do you think about that? Do you think, because the way I look at it is I think a fighter, being a fighter myself for a long time, and I just know what they go through and so at the end of your career, when you have all these tough fights, I don't mind. I think it's fine if a fighter takes a quote unquote easier fight. But, Fury kind of just had two, and now the third one's against a non-boxer. I mean, what do you think about that? That he's fighting somebody who's never set foot in a boxing ring before.
Well, I mean, I like Francis Ngannou and his story and what he's gone through in the UFC, and just to get to where he's at. So part of me is happy for him to be able to get a big payday and get paid more than he's ever gotten in the UFC. He's a hell of a guy. Barack and I have chopped it up with him, and I like his story. So I like the fact that he's getting an opportunity to make some money. Now, if I'm from a purist standpoint, no, obviously I don't love that fight. It's a spectacle. I just can't see how Ngannou could pose any threat to a guy like Tyson Fury at his size. But I'm accepting this fight because of Francis Ngannou. Now, him wanting to go fight John Jones, like there are rumors that he wants to do that next, that's when the buck stops. And,
right.
He needs to get stripped of the WBC title. You can't hold that title hostage when there are other heavyweights out there trying to fight real fights and fight for titles. Like Tyson Fury, is obviously the best heavyweight in the world and probably would beat everybody. But he's playing a lot of games with not wanting to fight, negotiating with Usyk and all this. So sometimes it gets redundant and it's tiring, right?
Well,
so stop holding the belt hostage, vacate it if you want to do these non-traditional boxing fights, which I'm cool with. Look, he can do whatever he wants right now. Right. But you can't go fight another UFC fighter and hang on to that belt. No.
Well, let me ask you this. If Ngannou lands that lucky punch and knocks Tyson Fury out, which is very unlikely, but if he does that make boxing look bad, in your opinion?
Not. I mean, it can to some fans, but because these guys are heavyweights and Ngannou is a big puncher, he's knocked guys out in the UFC. There's that little notion there that he can land a big shot, and people that are smart and that know fighting, they won't feel like it makes boxing look bad. They will understand that these things can happen. So if you're talking to a fan that already has a bad narrative about boxing and wants to find something negative about the sport, that fan will run with that and say, yeah, see, boxing is dying, heavyweight champion gets knocked out. But not anybody with any sense.
Okay.
But that's not going to happen.
Probably not. No, very unlikely. But so Tyson Fury, do you think he has the makings and the tools to be one of the greatest of all time in the heavyweight division?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, with the size and his mobility and what he's able to do in the ring, truth of the matter is, though, that Tyson Fury has only two big names on his resume. And one of the guys, he fought him 3 times, right? And the other guy was Vladimir Klitschko,
who
AJ knocked out. Yeah. So he has the ability, the size, and all the intangibles that you would need to be one of the greatest heavyweights ever, if not the greatest, because of everything he brings to the table. But that has to be tested in the ring against other great fighters.
Agreed.
So there will always be that star next to his name. If he were to hang it up now, or even if he beats one more big fighter because of the resume, that's the only thing that would hurt his legacy.
That's what I was going to say. Let's say he wipes out the rest of his era, which is Joshua, Andy Ruiz. I don't even know who else.
Usyk.
Does that make him? Do you think that's enough to put him at greatest of all time talks at heavyweight?
Greatest of all time.
At heavyweight.
Tough. That's tough. Yeah, heavyweight. That's still tough. I mean, he would definitely be up there. He'd probably be top 5, maybe even top 3. I don't know if I could call him the greatest. Lennox Lewis beat everybody that he faced. Eventually, guys that he lost, he came back and beat them. Yep. Lennox was, in my opinion, probably right now I got him at number 2 of all time. Some people even have him at number 1 because a lot of people don't rate Mike Tyson the way some do.
Right.
And, Ali, he's just in a class of his own, right? So I would never say anybody's greater than Ali. I don't care what anybody tells me about skill or what they've done in the ring. I couldn't do it.
Right.
So that's why I would say I would probably if he beats Usyk and Joshua, I probably would have him at number 3 behind Lennox Lewis.
Right. I mean, to your point about Lennox, I look at eras. To me, that's a big thing. Eras are huge. Like, Joe Louis, in my opinion, is probably the greatest heavyweight of all time. But Riddick Bowe would wipe the floor with him if they fought, just because of the size difference, all the things that you get with a change of eras. Nutrition, technological advances, all that stuff. So
I mean, that's that. Speaking of Riddick Bowe, that's the one fight that should have happened with Lennox and Riddick Bowe when Riddick was young. The Riddick Bowe that beat Holyfield the first time. That was a man possessed. I don't think anybody beats that Riddick Bowe, honestly.
You think so?
Anybody?
Yeah.
No.
He was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, man, he was something different. But then
he was never the same. He never went back into the ring that same guy. I guess maybe he lost the hunger. He made some big money. But that young Riddick Bowe was a savage.
Well, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, I feel like that Mike Tyson, who fought Spinks, who could beat him?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, Mike hadn't really fought anybody that was a real elite heavyweight. I mean, Spinks he lost that fight before he even got in the ring.
Yeah.
He was scared to death.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a man that scared inside of a boxing ring. So Mike had that fight won. I still think Mike was a great talent. I think Mike had before he went to jail. I think Mike had the potential to be an all-time great, and maybe he would have beat certain guys. With his head movement and speed and power.
Well,
but he lost the big fights. He lost all of the big fights.
Well, I don't know. You don't know my background, but I as an amateur, I moved upstate and I lived with Kevin Rooney in Catskill for a year and a half, right? So I learned, and that style wasn't for me, but I learned that style. And Mike Tyson, it was custom made for him. That it wasn't custom made, but it was in terms of somebody who's short, explosive, and hits hard. Right. And when Tyson departed from Kevin Rooney, and everything went down the tubes along with everything else. But him following that style, very hard to do.
It worked for him. It was good. When you're fighting giants, man, guys like Lennox and guys that can take a punch that you're not going to be able to knock out with those uppercuts and hook. That's when you hit a wall.
Right.
But Mike is good. I'm a big Mike Tyson fan.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Let me let you go. I know you got stuff to do. I appreciate you talking to me.
No doubt, man.
Let's chop it up again.
No doubt. Take it easy, bro.
Peace.
Peace.